Welcome to the AI-powered SEO tactics virtual event today here. Thanks, Rich. As you can all tell, we like to keep this very open, so we're keeping an eye on the chat. So you got questions, comments, concerns, feel free to get through there. But anyway, I digress. Welcome to the webinar. We are going to go through everything that we possibly can resulting in AI and SEO. It is a very, very hot topic right now. You really can't sneeze without seeing or creating your own AI. So we're going to go through as many of them as we can. And we're going to kind of walk through what we do as our own internal process that we've figured out over the years that we've started to do this. We've actually been leveraging AI for SEO purposes for probably 2 or 3 years at least at this point. So all the new ones that are coming out and it's becoming this big thing, that's kind of why we decided like, okay, let's just do this webinar where we can kind of walk through the entire process. So we're going to dive into this. We're going to walk you through our entire process and show you exactly where all these different like 7- and 8-figure sellers, like what they're doing from an SEO perspective to not only rank better and bring in more traffic, but more importantly, at least in my opinion, to bring in more organic revenue so that you're slowly reducing your customer acquisition cost over time. So without further ado, let's do this thing. Give you all a little insight into who we are. My name is Andrew Maff. I am the founder and CEO here at BlueTuskr, and I'm joined by the amazing Cassidy. Cassidy, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Cassidy. I'm the SEO manager here, and I'm excited to get started.
Yes. Cassidy knows more about SEO than me. However, I talk a lot. So I'm going to say things, and then I'm going to turn to Cassidy and be like, is that right? And she's going to have to say yes or no. So it's going to be super fun. We like to make this super entertaining, and because otherwise like these can be wildly boring. So if you've got any good jokes or anything and you're like, hey, you guys are boring the hell out of me, throw it in the chat. Let's make it fun. But let's keep going. So what are we going to learn today? Here's some fun stuff. We're going to go over a couple of the basics of SEO. I know super boring, but I kind of want to set the tone so we all understand how we're using AI for those certain SEO aspects. We'll go through the benefits of all the different aspects of SEO, all the AI tools. Of course, we'll get into that. Keyword research, even how to use these AI tools, because I don't know if you've used an AI tool yet or not, which we will ask that in a little bit here. But sometimes you can ask it stuff and the results you get are hilarious. So we're going to walk you through how to not get hilarious responses. We'll go through on-page stuff, off-page stuff, software to use, tracking everything, bringing it all together. And again, what I think is the most important thing, we're going to show you how to actually focus it on a organic revenue approach as to not so much an organic traffic approach, because I don't know about you and your bills, but I can't pay my bills with traffic. I can only pay it with revenue. So I'm going to show you how we focus on that. Cassie, sound good? You ready to do this?
Good. Ready.
Couple housekeeping things. As I mentioned, up on the top right there, you've got a little chat option. Feel free to message us at any point throughout the entire webinar. Any questions you have, we will definitely try to address them at the time of you asking them. However, we also have some time allocated at the end where we'll be able to answer some of those questions as well. Outside of that, at the very end is where the fun stuff happens. We're going to be giving away 2 free SEO audits to 2 different people that have joined us today. Usually those are at about like $950 value, depending on the size of your site. So super awesome. We're going to give a couple of those away. Cassidy said it was fine for me to give 1 away. And I was like, nah, I'm doing 2. And she's like, fine, but not 3. And so we agreed on 2. And then we also have our own internal reporting process that we use. And we decided we're just going to give you guys that report so that you have it. But of course, because I have to do the stereotypical stuff, I will not give that away until the end. So stick around. So why are you here? There is a good chance, well, you probably are an e-commerce seller since we're focusing on the organic revenue side. But as I'm sure we all know, CPCs from paid advertising are getting out of hand. They're ridiculously expensive. They have been increasing, and I just did this on our last webinar. I can't remember what it is. I think it's like 26% year over year is how CPCs are increasing, which obviously means your customer acquisition costs are increasing. So today we're going to talk about how to turn your website into more of an asset that's actually going to reduce your CAC over time as opposed to continuously increasing it and paying for all of your sales. So that's what we're going to focus on. So real quick, before we get started, just so we have a general understanding, I'd be really interested to know what the percentage of revenue comes from what percentage of your revenue comes from organic traffic. So we just launched a poll there. Just let us know. Kind of want to get a little bit of insight into how much organic revenue you've been getting, how much maybe you haven't been getting, maybe you haven't tried SEO at all. maybe you're killing it and you're at that 76% plus, which would be impressive. So I'll give everybody a couple minutes here to fill out the 76%. Good for you guys. We might want to hear directly from you because that's pretty high, unless you're in like CBD or like some kind of restricted space, in which case like that makes more sense because you can't advertise. 26 to 50, not too bad. Looks like we're pretty even between 1% and 50%. So pretty wide variety of people here. I'll leave that up. We'll keep going here. But we'll tune in on that. But now, the fun part. I hope everybody's ready to do this. Cassie, you ready to go?
Yep.
Rich isn't running any paid ads. Good for you, Rich. Don't. Stand by your goal of not running any paid ads. All right. We'll let that poll. All right. I'm going to call it on this poll. So 4% of you are at 0%. So obviously you've come to the right place. 1 to 10% at 23%. 11 to 25% is a pretty good one there. 33% of people with 26 to 50% is your organic revenue. Is not too bad. The 9% of you. Look at that. 76%. Good for you guys. All right. We're going to see if we can get everyone into that 76% plus range by the end of this webinar, or at least get you on your way there. So let's go through this. We're going to stick to this fun Waldo theme. Why? If you've ever done Where's Waldo, this is the most obvious thing, right? Cassie, have you ever done Where's Waldo?
Of course.
Beautiful. So Where's Waldo is one of those things where if no one's ever done it, it's like a kid's book and you got to find this guy, right? So this guy's in a sea of people who are very complicated to find, and eventually you try to find him and then you move on to the next one. That's a lot like what search engines are like, right? Like you go into a search engine, your user, customer, potential customer is trying to find a product and they can't seem to find it. And you really want to stand out as if you were 10-foot Waldo. So what we're going to talk about today is how to turn your business into a 10-foot Waldo. Yes, Christina, it is being recorded and we will send everyone a replay. Now, we're going to work on improving visibility. We're going to show you how to outrank your competitors, obviously in terms of SERPs. We'll go through boosting your ROI, hand in hand, how it kind of works with paid advertising, and then how it can also help reduce your CAC over time. So we're going to touch on that, and everyone will start to see exactly what we're referring to here. So the first thing we're going to talk about, the on-page side. So when we refer to, when we refer to on-page SEO, we're talking about the technical stuff, right? So we're talking about your page speed optimization. We're talking about improving your click-through rate. So when someone searches something on Google, your meta title, your meta description, that's what's showing up. How can you make that more engaging for people to click on so that they're actually coming to you? Because there are a lot of cases where you could actually rank really well and then no one clicks on you, in which case, like, who cares what your ranking is if your stuff isn't interesting? We'll also talk a little bit about A/B testing, performance metrics. We're talking basically anything around on-page is specific to the website and the code, as well as any of your meta information. So that could also be CLS issues, alt tags in the back end of your imagery. Cassie, what am I missing?
Internal linking, making sure your linking structure is set up correctly.
Yep. Beautiful. That's your on-page side, right? So there's three aspects to this. So the next aspect is going to be your off-page side. So this is very traditional. This is what everyone knows as backlinking. So there's several ways to do backlinking. So like when we do backlinking here, Cassidy and her team do an amazing job at backlinking. We actually had a big old case. Someone did a big case study on us, which we'll touch on later about how we approach this. But backlinking really comes from doing everything you can to get a link from someone else's website to your website, because that's how Google eventually starts to see that so many people are referencing you that your site must be reputable. So that's how you slowly start to go up in the organic traffic or in organic rankings. So that could be from just traditional backlinks. That could be a shared backlink where you get a backlink and the person that you're working with gets a backlink. Blog posts, it works around reputation management. You can start doing different competitor analysis, start to see who you're working with there. We're going to get all of that, especially from an AI side. And then the third spot, to me, this is like how you kind of pour gas on all this stuff. This is from the article creation or any kind of content creation. If you're building out additional pages on your site, usually we suggest doing something like a blog along those lines. So that will be specific topics about how you start to bring in a relevant audience that may or may not be ready to purchase at that time. But when we touch on the CRO towards the end of this webinar, we'll show you how to bring in that audience and how to get them to purchase either at a later date or ideally right away. Cassie, have I missed anything there?
I don't think so.
Sweet. So bringing them all together, that's your big three, right? So you have your on-page, your off-page, and your article creation. Bringing them all together really helps you get a better user experience, helps you bring in more quality traffic, because that's another big problem, right? Like you start to write these articles, who cares what the traffic is if they're not converting eventually? So we're going to show you different ways to actually make sure that you're writing quality content, not this stuff that's like clearly AI driven. And we're going to show you how to improve upon basically all aspects of the SEO to get it to work together. And I added this last minute last night. So I don't know if anybody's noticed. And in fact, I'm going to fly back to all these. Every single one of these images that we have in here has been generated by AI. So if you saw the ad for this event, or if you saw any of the images that we had go out for the event, every single one of them was generated by AI. And a majority of the copy from all the ads that we did, as well as the emails that we did, and a good amount on this deck here as well, are all generated from AI. These are all aspects of different AI tools that we use to help develop this. This was one I did last night that I didn't show my designer. So if he's watching this right now, I'm super sorry. So for the AI, for the images, we're using Midjourney. Newton, I saw that question come in. We use Midjourney, but there's a bunch of them out there that you can use from an imagery standpoint. But regardless, the SEO side of things, the pillar strategy, we're big fans of the pillar strategy here. Essentially, the way that we clarify what the pillar strategy is, you create what we call a pillar article, which is essentially a very long blog post. It could be 5, 10, 15,000 words, whatever it needs to be. And it's relatively more general. And then from there, you actually start to create additional, we'll call them subtopics that are relevant to that main article that all link to the article, correct? Mm-hmm. So they link to the main pillar piece. So what happens is that big pillar piece links to all these subtopics. Those subtopics, usually like 1,500 to 2,000 words, something like that, all link up to that main pillar piece. And what happens is, as you start to do your backlink strategy, you do a real strong focus on the pillar piece. So you get as much backlinks as you can to that pillar piece. And what happens is, as that pillar piece starts to rank better, it brings all those subtopics up with it. So your website has something called a domain authority. So we'll just use our own website for now, BlueTuskr.com. Our domain authority, I think we're sitting at like a 35 or something right now. But every individual page has its own page authority. So if you can start to improve the page authority of one page, you actually start to improve the page authority of the pages that are linking to it. From an e-commerce perspective, the thing that is most important is ensuring that you're also linking to all of your products. So that way, your products start to actually go up in that ranking as well. So this pillar strategy, my designer, if he's watching, is going to be so mad because I know I prompt Midjourney wildly incorrectly to make I wanted like a rocket that was taking like your shopping cart and exploding it. And this is what I got. So this is what we're talking about like how you got to be careful about the prompts that you write. But so that pillar strategy is essentially what we're going to explain of how to implement that from an article creation standpoint, and then how the on page and the off page are all tied together with it. Whew. I told you I talk a lot. Cassidy, have I missed anything so far?
No, we're good so far.
Beautiful. So the AI side, this is where it gets super fun. Okay. So AI already knows search engine best practices. It definitely does help making content easier. It can help you tailor to certain directions of the shopper experience. It obviously can support with competitor analysis, doing your own keyword research and things like that. And it is not crazy expensive. I think the most expensive AI platform that we have right now is like a few $100 a month or something like that. So there's nothing crazy out there that's going to cost you thousands of dollars a month. There is also a lot of stuff that AI cannot do. And that is also some stuff we're going to talk about, because there's a very large misconception of AI is going to take over everyone's job. And while one day, yeah, maybe the people that are going to come out of this with jobs still are going to be the ones who know how to use the AI. And so today we are not only here to help you grow your organic revenue with AI for SEO, but we're also going to help you keep your job. So we're going to talk about the AI tools. There are so many of them, and we're sticking to just SEO. So Newton, I know you're a big fan, I can tell already, of Midjourney, but this is just from the SEO side. The imagery side, my designer, I promised him that I would try not to touch on those because I haven't figured that one out yet. He knows it better than I do. But there's a lot of them out there. And so we've done a ton of research about the ones that you can use that work really well, as well as ones that suck, basically. So ChatGPT, I don't know, has anyone here, if you've heard of ChatGPT, let me know. I know it could be a completely new thing that maybe no one here has ever heard of. If you're not sensing the sarcasm, it's like plastered everywhere now. It's kind of obnoxious. For those of you that don't know, ChatGPT is built by a company called OpenAI, right? Yes. So OpenAI is literally an open like API that feeds into most of these platforms. So Jasper uses OpenAI, SEMrush uses OpenAI. Everyone who's responding, yes, I know. It was a joke. So Surfer's got AI capabilities. They all have OpenAI. So when you look at these other AI platforms, really what they're doing is taking ChatGPT's information or OpenAI's information and just manipulating it to be able to use that functionality wherever else they want to. Newton, I know you mentioned Bard. Someone else mentioned Bard too. Robert mentioned Bard. Bard is definitely something that like it's not OpenAI's, it's Google's, but it's their way of, it's the same thing. Anyway, there's a ton of them out there. In fact, this is like only a handful. Cassie, I know we had a bunch of others that we talked about too. There was some we didn't add in here yet because we haven't like fine-tuned them yet, but what were some of the other ones that we talked about?
I believe we put in all-in-one SEO Power Suite, Alley AI, but we're still testing a few of those. So
yeah. So a lot of this stuff that we talked about, as Cassie just mentioned, is like we will basically discuss all the ones that we have figured out that we know work very well. There are some others out there that we're still testing and we're still playing with that we'll probably throw a plug in here and there, but we're not going to dive too deep in them. But there's a lot of them, and they all can help in certain aspects. It's just a matter of how you use them and how you manipulate them to get the information and the content that you want. So first things first, SEO, you can't really do anything until you know what keywords you want to go after, right? So that is the first thing we're going to talk about is what are your competitors doing? What are you doing? What keywords do you want to go after? That fun stuff. So there's a few different things you can use here. BrightEdge, SEMrush, SEO, Power Suite. Cassidy, you want to give us a little bit of an overview on how we're using these guys?
Yeah, so I typically love to use SEMrush or Ahrefs for our keyword research. And starting off, we typically look for keywords that have a higher volume, search volume, and with lower competition. That way we can kind of hit Google's sweet spot and rank really well on page one. And also kind of using these for our content strategy, it can give you a list of topic clusters that your site should go after, which is really helpful when determining all of the topics that you want to write. Exactly. And then also like going with ChatGPT, if you're not sure what niche typically people are searching for your niche, it can help give some additional information for what you should be writing about and maybe topics that you didn't think of just yet.
The thing that we always talk about from an AI perspective is we always want to cross-reference the information we're getting. AI is very often correct, but we'll touch on a little bit about what it can't do, but it's nuances and stuff that are, and you're going to know your business better. But so when we use platforms like SEO Power Suite, or we're using BrightEdge, or SEMrush has AI capabilities, we still cross-reference it with SEMrush or Ahrefs or Moz, or we have SpyFu now, and what's the other one you have? Something.
Did we mention Ahrefs and?
Yeah, Ahrefs. Not SpyFu. I'm going to draw a blank. It'll come to me. We'll come back to it. So the nice thing about all of these is it's great areas where you can look into each of them and check your keyword research. And the reason you want to look into each of them, like internally, we use, just for cross-referencing the AI, we use Ahrefs, Moz, SEMrush, and sometimes SpyFu, depending on the direction that we're going in. because they all can give you different information, and it's simply based on when they pulled that data as well as when they actually, how they're attributing that data. You can use stuff like ChatGPT. Everyone loves ChatGPT because you just type something in and it gives you an answer, and it's big and it's famous and everyone loves it. However, at the same time, most of these platforms do this stuff now. I'm not even really sure of a platform that doesn't have some kind of AI capability anymore. So they're all building out their own. That's how they're staying top of funnel. Whoops. Here we go. So this is another example from a ChatGPT perspective, for those of you that are big ChatGPT fans. This was a quick example I had done where you can actually, the new ChatGPT 4, you can get that one. They have plugins. So when you get the plugins, there's hundreds, if not thousands of them at this point. So it's kind of tough to go through them. But I'm a big fan of the SEO assistant. It's the FX logo, but it's the SEO assistant. And then there's the SEO app. There's also Speedy Marketing, which is kind of interesting. It does really well. But this is one of those situations where you can just ask it certain information and it can give you some information out of it. ChatGPT likes to claim that it doesn't have access to the internet, and it's a liar because I know that it does. That's where it got this information. But it will tell you sometimes like, oh, I don't have access to the internet, so I can't tell you what this website ranks well for. It's kind of frustrating to get ChatGPT to actually do it, which is why we use stuff like SEMrush and BrightEdge, because you can actually pull that information from there and it gets it out of its own system. So with ChatGPT here, it all comes down to what it is you're asking it. So from a keyword research perspective, it could be as easy as what are the top keywords, top ranking keywords for this type of phrase. So in this case, we did concrete grinders for a client we were working with, but you can also get a little bit deeper on it of what are the top keywords for people asking this type of question. So you can get it as deep as that too. It depends on the type of content and how you're trying to drive that. Then it's what AI can't do. This is my favorite thing to talk about because everyone thinks AI is awesome and it's just a matter of you figuring it out. But there's a something that I say to the team internally, and I'm sure Cassie's very tired of hearing it. Every product, every business, and every business owner are all wildly different. So no matter what you do, you can't template a process. It's all very different. And the problem with AI is it doesn't know you and it doesn't know your business specifically. So you're going to know what your top sellers are. You're going to know your audience better than ChatGPT ever can. So there's aspects of that where you have to look at the information that it's providing you and then ensure that it's still accurate. And there's a lot of nuances around it. So to give you some information here, the one I had mentioned with ChatGPT where I typed in here, what are some of the top ranking keywords for concrete grinders? The very first thing it gave me was concrete grinders for rent. Our client doesn't do rentals. So it's a very high level example, but it's a good example of not everything that you're going to get out of it is accurate. So you still need someone to read through everything and decipher what is actually being utilized versus what isn't. And so, yeah, so basically it's just not a perfect output every single time for just a keyword perspective. So as we get into the more of this stuff, I am very curious about who's actually already using AI. This will be my last poll of the day, I promise. But I am curious. Oh, you know what? Let me reschedule that so I can display the results. There we go. Okay. Real quick, yes or no answer. How many of you are already using AI for SEO? How many of you aren't? I just want to get an idea so I can see like how high level we need to go, how low we need to go. And we can map it out to there. Unless we end up 50-50, which looks like where we're gonna end up, in which case I'm gonna do my best. Nice. Oh man. Yeah, we're aiming at 50-50. Great. Okay. We'll figure it out. We'll be all right. So on-page stuff. This one scares the crap out of me because this one it's really cool what it can do. We've started to play with some new stuff, which we'll touch on, but we didn't showcase in this webinar because we haven't like rolled it out yet. But on-page SEO, leveraging AI scares the crap out of me because if I hit a button and it changes the code on my site, I'm so scared that it's going to ruin something. But I digress. So let's talk about the on-page stuff. Cassie, you want to take over for a second here while I
Yeah, no problem. So for our on-page strategy, we use a lot of it to analyze our site using an audit. And that way for audits, when it comes to technical errors, you can do an on-page audit for user experience, content ideas, content optimization ideas, and of course, keyword research. I personally love it for content optimization because it can provide insight to how many headings you should have, the amount of keywords you need, if you need more words, less words against your competitors, and it will kind of give you a great overview of what you should be doing. And then some of these, like SEMrush, you can simply add it to the next plugin and then it can write it all for you. So it's really helpful in that way. And then back to our audits, it can provide information such as you have broken links, missing meta descriptions, missing H1s, which is really crucial when you're trying to rank well for certain products. You definitely don't want any duplicate content or any missing metadata, which would help you stand out from the SERPs.
Yep. Then there's also the technical side. So Robert, as you just mentioned there, that you used AI for your server configuration, your first pass crashed it. That's the thing that you obviously you want to have a staging site in place to make sure that kind of stuff works. There's other platforms out there. There was one that we're testing right now called Alley AI. And effectively, you can basically have it read your site for optimizing the code specifically for page speed. And then you can hit a button and basically it'll change your code. You got to do a staging site. You've got to make sure you've got backups in place. You got to go through every test you can possibly think of before you push anything live, simply because the way that there's always the human nuances of it. And if you had a developer build your website, having a robot go in there and change a bunch of stuff is kind of like having a new person going in and changing your website, but just without thinking it through about why that human may have done something else before. So you want to be careful with stuff like that. So as Robert mentioned, Robert, sounds like you were prepped and ready to go. But yes, you want to make sure that you have some kind of staging site in place so that when you do push it live, it doesn't crash everything. Where are we at here? So there's the different platforms. Some of this is AI. Some of this is still pulling it directly from, platforms that have existed for years. But like for a SEMrush side, being able to get a grade on your website, being able to actually assess like what's your ranking from a page speed optimization side, what is your overall grade for the site in terms of just average functionality and how the keywords are being used. So this kind of information you can actually pull from stuff like SEMrush and Ahrefs, and then actually be able to leverage that information to adjust the on-page as you're doing changes. I'm a big fan, especially if you're leveraging AI, to just do small changes as you're using AI so you can keep an eye on it. Because if you do one big swoop, while you think it's going to save you a lot of time, it could actually make a lot of things worse and take up a lot of time if you got to fix it all.
Mm-hmm. It's also important to note all of the optimizations that you're doing in case something goes wrong for a specific page. And that way you have history of what you did and can revert back.
Exactly. And for the what stuff can't do, now you're looking at, kind of like I mentioned, you have the human judgment, right? So you have the nuances of your own business that AI is not going to know about. But then you have the big one to me, which is the constantly changing algorithms. Mm-hmm. Google changes that damn thing. In fact, they just did another one like last week. I think it was last week or over the weekend or something, where they just do it. And it's like, and you got to go. And all of a sudden you see an influx in your traffic or a decrease. And you want to see like what's going on. So if you're constantly leveraging AI, it's going to take time for it to catch up to understand what the new algorithm is for it to actually update. So there's a lot of stuff that you still want to make sure you're basically baby stepping through the entire process. So this is just an example of someone a client we worked with where we were leveraging AI for a lot of the on-page stuff, and we were able to actually get their on-page rankings, so their overall site health up from, I think they were in like the 60s or 70s.
Yeah,
from what I remember. Mm-hmm. They were crazy low. The site was super slow. And within like 2 or 3 months after we went through the initial round of everything, we got their site health up to a 92%. And that's from leveraging that AI for on-page aspects. And the nice thing is too, is that while we were able to do this nice and super fast, it's also very helpful for the fact that you can ease into it and you can easily test everything you're doing before you go live with it. And then this was able to actually turn around a lot of their organic revenue, because page speed optimization, while obviously it helps from an organic rankings perspective, it also just helps from an overall user experience. So it's also kind of a CRO approach in another way as well. Off-page stuff. Mm-hmm. This is where it gets super interesting too. Cassidy, I'll let you.
Yeah. So our off-page strategy is basically, of course, looking for niche-related backlinks, getting guest posts published. And we do that by using Respona, which is our outreaching platform. And my favorite technique personally is taking our competitors and uploading them to Ahrefs, and it will provide backlinks, and you can filter those backlinks, whether it's with a higher domain authority or one near yours, and you can download that and upload it to Respona, and they'll find the contacts for you and kind of do everything for you, which saves a lot of time and resources in the long run.
So for those of you that don't know what Respona is, I see it as kind of like we basically use it as like a backlinking CRM, right? Mm-hmm. So you can automate a lot of conversations with people to try to work with them on getting backlinks. There's a lot of nuances to it. There's a couple different platforms that we use outside of this as well that provide content for some people, which we'll touch on when we get into the content. But the nice thing about Respona is being able to automatically set up sequences. Now, Respona is not paying us to say this. We actually went through, and Cassie probably remembers this, we went through a very, very long, drawn-out process of trying to find the best like outreach platform for specifically meant for working on backlinks. Mm-hmm. And that was super fun. And we narrowed it down to Respona as being the one that we like to use. And it really helps us start to grow a lot in terms of getting backlinks and being able to kind of help our clients get as many backlinks as possible, whether it's a shared backlink, guest blog post, etc. And I'll come back to that. Respona actually featured us because we were one of their top agencies that actually leverages that platform in being able to get completely new referring domains, actually high quality domain authority domains, as opposed to like the little tiny like 1 and 2s that are a waste of time. So it was definitely a platform that we had a lot of success with. And obviously Respona thought the same thing. So they did one for us, and I thought I'd put it in here because I thought it was pretty cool. And Cassidy kicked some ass with that thing. So it was awesome. But just like we were talking about for leveraging the AI from an off page, you still need to use things like SEMrush, Ahrefs, Moz, etc. to get the information around who should you be going after. Mm-hmm. Now you can use things like ChatGPT, and you can use things, there's some of the plugins for ChatGPT as well, but these other platforms do a great job at being able to pull in the information of articles that might be very useful for you to get a backlink from. And it gives you a lot of information as well. In some cases, like I know SEMrush does, where they can actually give you the contact information of the person that wrote the article, so you can easily reach out to them and get that process going. Mm-hmm. And then there's that awesome case study again. So what it can't do. So when you're doing outreach, it's a little bit of a sales process because you're trying to convince someone to give you a backlink, or you're trying to convince someone to do a shared backlink or something like that. So you can use AI to help you write those emails. However, if anyone here has ever been in a B2B business and has ever done like cold outreach to someone or something like that, if you template everything, it comes out like crap. So basically you have to find ways to manipulate all of those different messages that you're sending out so that you can actually make sure you're reaching people and actually getting interested to open that email. So when we were talking about this, that's basically because our team doesn't just template everything. We actually customize everything that we send out. In some cases, they do use AI to help write those emails and get them structured based on the information that we know of that person that we're trying to get the backlink from. But AI can't build relationships. It can't be the one that's like going to help answer questions. Sometimes these people who are giving you backlinks, depending on how high their domain authority is, they might have a fee structure involved, in which case you got to go through that whole thing. Mm-hmm. So AI can't help with that. So it still does require a person to do it. And if you haven't noticed, there's a theme throughout all the AI stuff. It makes things a lot more efficient, but it can't do everything. There's no like hit a button, get me a ton of backlinks. There's no magic bullet. That's why we're all here to figure out what it is you can use to speed things up and to be more efficient in it. But at the same time, there's still that human touch that's still required whenever you're doing anything like this. And another awesome generated AI image. Same thing from an off-page side. This is another client of ours. This guy, nuts. Within like 3 months, they were at 154% improvement in organic traffic. And even there, what was it? 123% improvement in organic revenue. A lot of that was derived from doing a lot of off-page stuff. And then a lot of that, we also still did on page for them. We were creating articles, but the articles we were creating got so much traction from people wanting to link back to them that we were actually able to have some really nice results. Getting results in 3 months, I'll be honest, is very difficult. Even with AI, it can be kind of hard to see these kind of numbers in 3 months. That's why this is a case study and not like a, hey, here's an average. But this was a gangbusters one we were all super thrilled with. So we definitely wanted to make sure we showcase this one as well. Muhammad asked, what are the best practices to use these tools if the brand only wants to be on Amazon and don't want to grow off Amazon in the moment? So Muhammad, you can still do that. Actually, our last webinar that we did was about driving off Amazon traffic. From a backlinking perspective, you can actually look at getting links to your Amazon listings as opposed to getting links to a blog post or something like that. And if you can get involved in like, top, I don't know what your product is, but let's say, top X something of the season or whatever. So you're related in one of those listicle things. If you can get a bunch of those because you do a lot of outreach and you can actually get backlinks to that, that will improve the organic ranking of your listing on Google, which is another way to get a lot of traffic for Amazon specifically. Now, the fun one, article creation. This is where it gets a little like, this is how it all starts to come in together. So Cassie, I'll let you kick this one off too.
Sure. So for article creation, once we have our keywords that we're going after, we use those to create really catchy headlines and titles. And after that, we use Jasper, which also connects with our Surfer SEO. So these AI platforms, you can put what title you want, your tone of voice, how long it should be, and then it will write it all for you. But like we've discussed, it's really important to add that human touch. So it's important to have a writer who is well versed in that niche to be editing and making sure everything is factually correct. And then once we have that written article, we check it for plagiarism, and that also checks it for AI. So if it does sound like it's written by AI, then it can paraphrase everything and change it up. That way we're not getting penalized by Google, because as AI is growing, so is Google. They're learning, and they're not going to let everyone get away with writing something that's completely AI written. So it's important to have that human touch to it. And then after it's published, it's important to keep an eye on those keywords that you're going after. And let's say in 6-7 months, it's still not performing well, you can audit it and optimize that content, because Google loves fresh written content, and it's a huge part of EAT. So that's kind of the cycle.
Yeah. So to walk you through exactly what our process is, right? So this is stuff that we're doing for 7, 8, even a handful of 9-figure sellers. And it's all about the initial process through the whole thing and then going back and refreshing, right? So the first thing we'll use a bunch of different AI tools to do our keyword research. We map out all the keywords we know we want to go after, at least to start off with. From there, once we go, okay, we're all on the same page of the keywords that we know we want to target on based on search volume or keyword difficulty, anything along those lines. We then go, okay, of these keywords, what are the top things people are asking? So what type of value can we provide the person that's searching this? So we go through, we start to develop all these different topics around that keyword. All those different topics along with the briefs, which is something that we can create via through Jasper or something. SEMrush mods, Ahrefs can help us figure out what the top things are that are searched. ChatGPT can also do that. What ChatGPT can't do is write you super long articles. ChatGPT limits itself to I think it's 600 words or something like that. So you can't get it to write you a tolerable article, which to us, if an article is going to provide enough value, you're looking at least 1,500 words or so. So we use stuff like Jasper, where, as Cassidy mentioned, you can tell it the tone of voice that you want it to write in, but we actually have editors that are familiar with the category that they're writing about. And Jasper will write 2 or 3 paragraphs. The editor will tweak it. Then it'll hit a button and it'll do another 2 or 3 paragraphs. The editor will tweak it. So it'll actually adjust itself based on the editing that's going through there. And so then that way, once that article is completed, We then hand it over to the SEO team, who adds in all the necessary internal links, outbound links. You need H1 tags, H2, H3. It's got to be super easy to read, which we'll touch on when we get in the CRO side. That then gets uploaded. Then once that goes live, and it's been live for like 30 to 60 days, we can actually pull another report using SEO Surfer, which we'll touch on, where we actually go back and we can be told from that platform, how many more words does it need? How many more titles, images, that kind of stuff does it need to actually start to rank better? So the biggest problem that we always see, especially in the e-commerce industry with blog posts, is too many people write an article. They, especially countless times we come across like it's clearly written by AI, where they just hit a button, it wrote 1,000 words and they threw it up on their blog. The thing that you have to do is once it's loaded up, get that extra data, see what it needs, and then you go back and you have to actually edit those articles. So you don't want to focus on quantity, you want to focus on quality. So once you put that article out there, you actually want to go back and refresh it. That's how Google starts to see that you're keeping things up to date. And that's how you start to grow up in the rankings, because you're actually being provided information from SEO Surfer around what else it needs. So that's pretty much this whole process. And then as she mentioned, it gets put into a plagiarism platform, which we're touching on, I think, on this slide. So we mentioned we use Jasper. And Cassie, I know I asked you this and now I already forgot. Is it cross-plage?
Cross-plage, yeah.
Cross-plage, okay. So we use Jasper. It'll write everything out. It then gets added into cross-plage, which will tell us, A, if it's just completely ripped off from someone else, or B, if it sounds like it's AI, because there's theories that Google will pull your ranking down if it feels like it's AI written. So our editors are constantly tweaking it to make sure that it passes all the different readability terms that cross-plage wants it to do. Plus, depending on your audience, most of the time you want it written at like an 8th grade level. So because let's be honest, the average American or the average person anywhere, and specifically American, they don't have the highest like reading capability. So you want to make it super easy to read and easy to digest. So the thing across the board, which is the EEAT, which we'll touch on as well, that is 8th grade and down. So that's what you want to focus on. And then, of course, Grammarly to make sure that you don't sound like an idiot.
I was going to say another great tool for checking plagiarism is Quillbot, if anyone is also interested for another tool.
Beautiful. This is a couple examples of stuff we've done straight out of Jasper. You can kind of see here, like there's information around on the left-hand side here. We've got stuff out of Jasper where you can give it different topics. It'll start to write everything. And then on the right-hand side there, that's SEO Surfer, isn't it? Kathy?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Right? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So the one on the right there, that's SEO Surfer. That will give you your rankings of if it needs additional touch or, oh, wait, no, this is cross-plage, right? They all kind of look the same when it comes to content. And this is why I don't touch anything anymore.
I know. Yeah. So the right is Jasper. And then the left is cross-plage or Quillbot.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, and as you can see, too, on that top left image here, you can actually select the tone of voice that you want it to be in. So obviously, you're going to know your brand voice better than anyone else. And if you were to say, oh, I want it to be in a funny, sarcastic tone, it's going to do its version of a funny, sarcastic tone. But when you really start to know your customer and you know who you want to go after, you then have to adjust to make sure that it's still in line. So it's kind of like I see it as a nice kickoff point. It's probably a nice way to explain that. What it can't do. So credible sources is very interesting. We've had this happen a handful of times where it references some BS. So you've got to make sure you know exactly what it's referring to. There's a bunch of platforms out there where you can actually get it to, like ChatGPT does do this now, where it can actually link to where it's getting the references from. However, sometimes those references are BS, which is why you want to get rid of them. But when you're adding your basic stuff, your internal links, your outbound links, all that fun stuff, you got to make sure you're checking that stuff. And the human personality and your actual own judgment on where your business at and what you want your product to be portrayed as, that's the one thing that I don't think AI will ever have the capability to do. Because if you're going to really want to stand out from your competition and everyone's using AI, no one's going to stand out. So you still have to have that human nuance to it. Cassie, am I missing anything from that?
No, I think we'll dive into EAT, which goes hand in hand with this.
This is your area, so I'm gonna let you touch that one.
So EEAT, which is one of SEO's main performance factor, is huge, especially considering how big AI is becoming. It's important that your site has experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So this kind of ties in with article creations and making sure that you are writing accurate information and providing a solution to your users. So that also goes hand in hand with off page. If we have a strong backlink profile and domain authority, Google sees that and will provide us with kind of better search results, knowing that we are an expert in our area and we have proof to back it up from people linking to us and people coming to our search engines because we provide top quality content.
From a data perspective, basically what you want to look at is your bounce rate and your time spent on page.
Mm-hmm.
So really what you think about is you're a traditional e-commerce seller, you're driving people to a product page. You just want them to convert. You don't want them to leave that page until they buy something. You want them to take some kind of action. That's the goal. When you're driving traffic to an article, you're writing an article and you're bringing in all of these people, you want the same thing. So if you're not creating quality content that you're just as happy about as your product, you're not going to rank well. It's not going to do as well. And the other thing that you got to think about too is there's a big disconnect when people think about how they're portrayed from blog posts, because every time we speak with sellers, there's a lot of theories around like, I'm just doing this because I know I should, but no one really knows why. But it's going to be what your brand is portrayed as. In many cases, it's the first instance of someone experiencing your brand. So if you're writing a bunch of crap, they're never buying a product from you because they're going to think that you're selling crap. So you've got to make sure that you're actually leveraging your information as becoming like a thought leader in the space by making sure that they're enjoying their experience on the site. You're clearly stating your expertise and that you are an authority in the space by who you are and why your business knows most about whatever it is you're selling, and that you're trustworthy. And sometimes that may mean putting in reviews or just justifying some of the things that you're saying within these articles.
Mm-hmm.
So the revenue side, this is my favorite part because this is the one thing that I still to this day don't think we have ever started working with someone where I went, okay, your blogs are perfect. So if you're writing articles and you want people to come to your site, that means that you're doing everything you can to get the best organic ranking. The best organic ranking, if your meta titles, your meta descriptions are good, they're going to click on them. They're going to come to your blog. Great, you got traffic. But you can't pay your bills with traffic. Now, I will caveat that with, if you've got good retargeting paid advertising in place, traditionally on social media, if you're pulling them in, you're getting a lot of traffic and your retargeting is in place, they will eventually convert in a perfect world, right? So getting a lot of traffic could eventually pay itself. However, wouldn't it be great if they just converted right away? So the very first thing that we ever do before we publish anything is we do a CRO audit on the blog, because no one ever thinks that your blog can actually convert, and it definitely can. So when you're pulling in all of this traffic from your blog, some of the things that you want to look at, on the top right here, we have an example of a sidebar. If you've got a situation where you can add an immediate, hey, get 10% off your first order, or maybe you have a really cool newsletter that you want them to subscribe to. Maybe you've got some gated content, which is always great. Hey, give me your email. Here's like a checklist or something like that. Having that extra information on the right-hand side is very beneficial. I will also say a lot of people use their phones. So from a sidebar perspective, if they're not on desktop, sometimes it doesn't do as well. So now you want to think about, what does your pop-ups look like? Everyone thinks like, let's make one pop-up that's 10% off for a first-time buyer, and we'll put it on the entire site. Well, sorry if you keep hearing me hit my microphone. So can you tell I'm getting, I got this. This is my favorite thing to talk about. So the pop-ups, where people don't think about, is you're writing all these different categories of content so that you can bring in all this organic traffic, you start to rank better. But why not show them a pop-up that's relevant to that content? So if you're writing stuff about, this is going to be tough. Let's do, okay, we got a client of ours, Pet Honesty, on here. Let's say that we're writing an article about how to play with your dog. And so why not show them a pop-up that if we are doing a 10% off, let's have the picture as being like, oh, get 10% off our best dog toys. And then maybe they have another one that's like off their supplements. So like get 10% off your first order of, stuff for better health for your dog. So you can actually quantify and personalize each thing by having pop-ups like that, or gated content. Are you creating like 10 cool tricks to teach your dog, or like 10 things your dog should need, or something that they should download? So there's a lot of things you can do there from just getting an email, which I'm sure we all here know, at least I hope we do, that outside of revenue, your next best target KPI is your email list. So if you can grow your email list, you're in good shape. The same thing that you can do that I rarely have ever seen anyone do is Shopify has plugins. If you're on Shopify, they have it. I think WordPress has it. I don't think BigCommerce has it. But there are plugins where you can actually pick products to showcase in the blog where they can add to cart right then and there. So if you're talking about, hey, here's the top 10 dog toys and, all 10 of them are yours, why have them click over to a product page? Let them add to cart right then and there. So you can actually make your blog shoppable. So having that capability, so up here we have like the shop post, like this was at the bottom of a blog where you can actually purchase each of these books right at the bottom. So it's a way that you can actually turn the article into Shopify, into a shoppable way of actually converting people right when they're on the page. And then there's another one. Let's say you have categories. So maybe you want them to take a look at all of your dog toys. No one's putting ads on their blog post. No one on this page, no one on this webinar is in the business of media. So you're not putting AdSense on your own blog. What you're actually going to do is you can create your own custom image that looks like an ad, but have it actually click over to your collection. So check out all of our dog toys, check out all of our dog supplements or something along those lines, and shop now and send them to a collection page. You have to make your blog posts as organic revenue focused as possible, because if your ads aren't retargeting well enough, you're wasting money by even bothering doing SEO because you can't seem to get them to convert, with the one exclusion of if you're linking to your product correctly, those rankings will go up. Whew. How'd I do? Am I alive?
Good work.
I get so excited for that one. Future of AI, we all kind of can get an understanding of where AI is. A lot of this stuff's going to get automated. There's some stuff now that even we're like, okay, we can definitely see this is eventually going to get automated. That's one of those things where if you know how to outsource well, just get a VA to kind of move stuff around for you. Getting human intervention is going to be really interesting. Like if you can find a way to portray who your target customer is, like if I could upload a flawless customer profile into one of these platforms and it says like that type of person will love this, that's where I think AI will eventually get into, especially from an e-commerce perspective. Cassie, what are your theories?
Future of AI. I think that the algorithm updates are going to be based around this heavily in the future. I think that there's going to be quite a bit of changes that we're going to see, a lot of new platforms coming out, a lot of new different softwares that we'll be able to utilize. It's definitely going to change some plugins as well, but I think that overall, like we've said, you're going to need a human touch and you're going to need someone that's implementing these processes.
Yeah. It's going to be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff we discussed today, all the importance of on-page, off-page, article creation, how it all kind of ties together, the keyword research tricks, all the different AI platforms. There's a ton of them out there. So the ones we went through are the ones that we have vetted, that we have confirmed, like, okay, these are the ones we are using. We look into the new ones every time they come up, but for now, those are the ones that we still stand by. We are not sponsored by any of them, although to be honest, we should probably reach out and talk to them about that. We went through a bunch of the different prompts. More than happy to, as people start asking questions here, we'll go through some of the prompts as well that we do. And then adjusting those articles for revenue, just do that. Just do that. Even if you do nothing after this, go focus on your articles being revenue focused. You will be so much happier at the end of this. Obviously, I have to do this part. This is stuff we do for clients all day. This is Cassidy's forte. Her team kills this stuff with using AI now. We're only one of a handful of agencies, at least on an e-commerce side, I know of from an SEO perspective, that's using AI, at least at this level. The reason we did that is because we decided we all wanted to keep our jobs. So we got into this as soon as we could. We do this all the time. There's a bunch of case studies on our site. We do SEO on page, off page, completely white glove. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to. We'll handle it for you. Feel free to shoot me an email whenever you want, and we'll touch on that. But I also wanted to make sure that we give you guys something else outside of this. We also have every single marketing report that we use. I am going to give you the SEO one for free right after this. But we have 9 others that we use, from CRO audits to overall paid advertising to your business as a whole. There's some Amazon stuff in there. So I've got all 10 of them. Usually we sell them for, I can't remember what it is, it's a couple $100, but we've got them at least 50% off right now. So I do have an offer for you guys. Stereotypical, gotta do it. I appreciate everyone for joining us. I will also drop the link in the chat here. I promise you, if your marketing department's not at least using something like this, you're messing up, because you got to be able to track this kind of stuff. And then, of course, we're going to do a little quick Q&A. However, first things first, let me send everyone. Okay, so what I just put in the chat is our SEO and content basically tracking log. It is, if you use something like Supermetrics, you can automate the whole thing, which is fantastic. But that's the exact report that we use to be able to track keywords, articles, keyword rankings, on-page changes, off-page CRM is in there. Weekly site health, organic traffic, it's all in there. Anything from an SEO perspective, all in there. You guys can have it. You have view access. It's a Google sheet, so just replicate it, and then it's all yours. You can play with it. And then, of course, so we're going to give away 2 different SEO audits here. And the way we like to do this is I'm going to have everyone, this is going to make my inbox awesome. I'm going to have everyone email me if you are interested in getting an SEO audit done. I'm going to take everyone who submits, we're going to put them into a randomizer, and we're going to take the 2 people out of there and give you guys a completely free SEO audit. That will pertain to giving you all the keywords. We're going to set you up for success. You're going to have all the keywords you want. We're going to go through all your articles. We're going to even do a brief CRO audit on your blogs, which I talked about, which you should do, all that stuff. So just drop my email in the chat. Feel free to email me if you are interested in the CRO audit. However, at this time, this is that perfect moment for all of your questions, comments, concerns. I am here to help. We went through a lot. I spoke a lot. I know we're at an hour, but we'll do questions for a little while here while we still can. So please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we start answering some questions for you. While I get some water. Woo! That was fun. All right. Let's see. Here's one. In 2 years' time, do you think people will be searching for articles to read about the top 5 best lawnmowers, or will they just ask ChatGPT directly, what is the best lawnmower? In 2 years, absolutely not. They will still be searching for it. The reason I feel that way, there's people in, like, I'm using the United States as an example. There's people in, like, middle America, like the middle of the country, that will not use ChatGPT for years. It will take a generation for AI to actually be like a nationwide thing, in my opinion. Maya, yes, there will be a recording. Elizabeth, same thing. There will be a recording. Newton, which Shopify app for inline products do you use? Oh, Newton, I got to look that up. I can't remember what the name of it is. There's a couple of them. There's also a way to code it in that I looked at the other day, but I got to look at that one. I'm not 100% positive on that one. Muhammad sent us a question for all the images in Amazon. What SEO technique do you use? I don't have that ready right now. I didn't get this prep for Amazon stuff, but all the backlinking stuff definitely works for Amazon. A link's a link. Mm-hmm. Hannah asked, how do you balance human intervention with AI, specifically in on and off page? Oh, Hannah hitting us with the hard ones. How do you balance human intervention with AI, specifically in on and off page? Honestly, you need to have someone who knows what they're doing using the AI tools. That's the biggest thing, because it comes down to the prompts we talked about. Like, if you don't ask the right prompts, you're going to get a bunch of crap information out of it. If you have someone who knows nothing about SEO, I don't care if you have the best AI SEO tools in the world, you're not going to know what you need to ask. You're not going to know the direction you need to go in. The whole EEAT thing that Cassidy talked about, you're not going to know any of that. So you still need to have a professional utilizing this stuff. It's the same thing from an article creation.
Yeah.
You can't just have some random person like hitting buttons out of Jasper and getting stuff out of there. They have to know what they're talking about. They have to know about the category. They have to be aware of the target customer, what the business's goals are, that kind of stuff. Woo! I need a drink after this one. Let's do a few more minutes here. If you still got questions, shoot them in the chat here. What else do we got? I'm going to scroll back and see. I saw a couple. How do you check for AI/plagiarism? That's the cross plage
or Quillbot.
Quillbot. Yep. Mm-hmm. One of those things work great. And is it free? Or it's like $10 a month or something. Yes. Mm-hmm. It's like dirt cheap. So definitely I highly suggest that. Newton asked, what do we use Botify for?
Botify is to create characters and for chatting, I believe.
Oh, the like kind of like setting up a chatbot sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Gotcha. I'm at the bottom of the ladder in the process of putting together my website and articles, etc. I will appreciate an audit to get to me. Oh, yeah. If you're interested in an audit, email me that you are interested in getting the SEO audit, and then we'll put everyone through a randomizer. And I will attempt to email everyone before the weekend. However, I'm taking tomorrow off, so bear with me. I may email you over the weekend. Just to confirm, we reach out afterwards for potential free SEO audit. And could you talk a little bit about, so the SEO audit, everything. We're going to give you all the keywords that we think you should go after. Usually we do about 100 of them. We'll set you up with probably 10 to 15 different article topics that we think should be something you should write about. We'll pull a site health audit. So you've got everything you need on what should be adjusted from an on-page perspective. From an off-page side, Cassie, what's on the off-page side?
We're going to analyze your competitors' backlinks and go over all the backlinks that you should write an outreach strategy to and reach out to them. We will also be doing a backlink audit, going over all of your toxic backlinks and ones that you should disavow. And we can also go over the sequence strategy, I believe.
Yeah, that's the other thing with backlinking is disavowing the ones that suck. That's the other thing you got to look at. Sometimes people will give you a backlink, but it's not a good one, and you don't want those. So you got to get rid of those.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. I think that's all the time we got for today. I really appreciate everyone who joined us. If you're interested in the SEO audit, please shoot me an email. Thank you all so much for joining us. We will have a replay out. I will shoot that email out as soon as this is all set and good to go. Wish you all the best of luck. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to email me, Andrew@BlueTuskr.com, or Cassidy@BlueTuskr.com. But we wish you all a great day. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you all next time. Have a good one.
Bye.